Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Nitro Racing League here on the channel. It's been a couple weeks. We had an off week, so it's been now, like I said, 2 weeks since we've had Nitro on the channel. But today we continue the regular season here at Chicagoland Speedway, which means 5 races left in the Nitro regular season. You see where I qualified? Wasn't very good. I qualified down to P15. I didn't really put in an effort in qualifying, so I knew I was going to be near the bottom of the pack. But we had the 14 actually on the pole, it looked like, for this race now as we would get underway for the opening laps here in the first stage now, as it was 39 laps in stage 1. Stage 1 was definitely the roughest portion of the race for myself here, as you're going to see in the next coming minutes of this episode. As stage 1 was quite honestly a disaster for me there, as we already have problems going into turn 3 there. Andrew and Jay got together. I got together with the 48 now, but Jay, he was actually racing on a controller in this race now, as he's usually on a wheel, but he unfortunately could not bring his wheel with him for this race, so he was on a controller, still getting used to it, and had a bit of a moment there, and unfortunately got into Andrew. But we come through now, already up from P15 to P9 after one lap here in Chicago, right to the back of that 9 car of Andrew Wisdom now, as it was still the 14 leading the way down the back straightaway into turn 3. So we were just chilling behind Andrew, and then we came through to a few laps later now, as we came through out of turn 4. Andrew got into the outside wall there, so I was now actually able to come through and take over the 8th position down the front straightaway. So slowly moving our way forwards now on lap 3, as the 14 and the 41 were still out front leading the way. Now as we came through though on lap 3, now the 42 of Cameron, he was actually able to get up my inside through the center of 3 and 4, so he would now get past me, and the outside was just doom at this racetrack here in Chicago. So once it got up to the second lane, you could really do nothing, it felt like. So we came through now out of turn 2, losing a position, but then I had a bit of a leg spike, and it would cost me right here down the back straightaway, because I slam into the back of the 42 because of that. So we're now down to P11, and this really kicked off probably the whole start of the just downfall of this first and opening stage here in Chicago. Another bit of a spike right there, but that would really be the last of it. Fortunately now, as I kind of saw it coming, my internet was having some issues there at the beginning of this race, but it was fine after that. But then I would struggle getting past the 10 car here of Blake as we came through out of turn 2. I was doing everything I could to try and get past him, but he was covering the bottom so well that I just could not get into a position to pass him, as it was now the 88 of Eddie leading the way. Then the 48 of Tyler, he gets to my inside, so we're down here in P13 at this point. As you can see, still some leg spikes, but finally it would, like I said, resolve itself now as we came through on to lap 7. The 48 took a peek to the inside of the 10, but he kind of closed the door on him, and it costed him on the exit of turn 4, so I would get through and pass the 48. Then I would once again try to make a pass on the 10 car. Now as we're very close there, and then I would actually get made or get some contact made, and then we go into the outside wall, drop down to P14. I kind of pinched him down quite hard there. Did not even mean to. It was just kind of a bit of a mistake on my part, so that was really my fault. Now as we came through out of turns 2, passing Jay back there, as he would drift back down to P14 as we came through already on lap 12. Then coming to lap 13, we got to the back of the 10. I wasn't waiting around, so I get into the back of him, just kind of move him up a little bit now as we look to the inside of him, and now we're going to once again get to that 10 car and pass him this time though for P12. So now we try to run down that 48 of Tyler there, as Andrew Wisdom has now taken the lead here in Chicago. So he has driven all the way through the field to take the lead as we came through, clipping that apron there, and I overcorrect massively on the exit of turn 2 on lap 15, as I honestly did not really feel like I just put too much wheel input into the car, or into the wheel, and it just destroyed, as you can see, the wall there, as it just completely hooked right. And then we came through a little bit later on lap 15. Andrew had some issues. He went from leading to actually being taken out, but it was not a caution now, as it was only a 1-car incident. Jay coming through on lap 16, he was having issues with the controller still. He was down on the apron going into turn 3, so we passed him, and once again we're back up into P13. Then we would get to the inside of the 34, and sure enough into turn 3 we would pass him and take over the 12th position now as we came through to turn 4. So now we come through to 19 laps to go here in stage 1, and then there was actually another crash here. Bryce, our teammate, then the 10 and the 20 of Matt and Blake go around, and that would actually bring out the first caution of the day here in Chicago now. So we would all come to the pit lane, and we would actually come out of the pit lane in P9 after taking 2 cans of fuel. And we would, of course, have the choose cone rule, and I would choose the bottom for this restart. So we get back underway now, as it was now the 19 of our teammate of Jonathan leading the way as we go down towards turn 1. The 14 of Venom on that outside. I don't actually know the 14's first name, so maybe hopefully you can tell me in the future now as we come through out of turn 2. Right on the back of that 4-car of Durham now, as we got Andrew Wisdom just behind us, but it was already just shaping up to be a crazy restart. The racing was crazy in front of us in stage 1 already, but we weren't a part of it. So this was really going to be our first opportunity to get right in the mix, as we're 3 wide in the middle between Matt as well as Andrew, who's on our inside, and then we got Matt there on the outside as we come through to cross the line. Matt looked like he kind of backed out of it, so I take over P8 as we go down toward turn 1 now, and it was still Jonathan out front at this point here as we try to make the second lane work, but as I told you guys earlier, this second lane really does nothing. So I got to the bottom immediately here, behind the 9 of Andrew Wisdom, up the inside of the 41 of Christian, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to let Andrew just kind of guide me through the pack. We saw him work his way to the lead earlier in this race, so I just kind of felt like we could just use him to be our guide, and sure enough, it was working. We get to the inside of his teammate of the 48 of Tyler, and just continue following Andrew now up to P6. Then he gets up the inside of the 4, as well as there was 3 wide on the exit of turn 2, actually, so I get through and past the 88 of Eddie, and then we're going to pass the 4 of Durham as well. So now Andrew has led us all the way into P4 here with 10 laps to go in this first stage. So now we came through clearing that 4 car on the exit of turn 4. Jonathan still out front. Actually, he is driven away at this point. Now as we came through, though, I decided to stay on the inside. Andrew, he went to the top to try and pass the 14, and this is where I made a bit of a mistake. Now as the 14 was just struggling really hard, so the outside actually was working right here. So now I get stuck behind the 14 there of Venom. So we came through into turn 3 now, lap 33. I said, you can just get out of my way. I got into the back of him. I had full intentions of trying to move him, and it worked there as we came through out of turn 4. So we now move back up into P3 on the exit of turn 4, coming through to cross the line with less than 10 laps to go here in the stage. And we came through out of turn 4, clipping the outside wall now on lap 35, and that would allow Eddie to actually get closer to me. And then sure enough, he makes a move coming to lap 37, and then we had our teammate of Bryce following him through as well as we went down towards turns 1. Andrew was running down the 19 of Jonathan very quick here at the end of this first stage. Now as we came through to the exit though of turn 4 on lap 39 of 39 here in stage 1, and it was Jonathan winning the stage, and we would hold on to P4 here in stage 1 as Eddie gets through to get P3. So still a solid first stage for us, 2 points. Cannot complain about that at all now, as we are going to come into the pit lane here to take 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires. So definitely showing some speed now that we've kind of gotten rolling here, as the last few races we've really struggled with speed here in the Nitro Racing League, and that was a bit concerning for myself, but finally today we're showing some strong top 5 speed, which was a nice feeling to have. But on the restart here for stage 2, I would actually be able to get right down in line in front of that 4 car as we went down into turn 1 behind the 88 of Eddie. He clips the apron there as we come through the center of the corners. I nearly clipped it myself as we come through out of turn 2, but right now it's Jonathan, Andrew, Eddie, myself, and Durham, your top 5, and of course it's just kind of like, it seems to be week after week, Hendrick Motorsports versus Joe Gibbs Racing. And it already looks like it's shaping up to be exactly that here today in Chicago. As we went down toward turn 1, I was already tired of driving in a line here after 1 lap, so I jumped up to the top. Andrew, though, gets to the inside of Jonathan, which I was not hoping to see. I was hoping to be the only one up here, and now Jonathan here is right in front of us, but he would actually be able to get in line in front of us now, as I, though, was still down here, or up here, I should say, on the outside. As we went down into turn 1, we would now lose the spot to the 4 car, and then the 20 car of our teammate Matt, he would actually be able to get past us as well, as just being on the second lane was such a disadvantage. But we finally get back down in line behind our teammate Bryce. This was actually his first race in a little while now, over a month actually, maybe even 2 months since we've had Bryce in a race now. As it came through, he made a move to the inside actually on lap 8 on the inside of our teammate of Jonathan. As we came through out of turn 4, I get in on the mix as well, get in on the party. It's Joe Gibbs Racing right now, 4th through 8th as we come through, crossing the line there, heading down towards turn 1, I should say, actually 4th through 7th that was now, as we are side by side with the 18 of Bryce through the center of the corner. He pinched me down pretty well there as we came through out of turn 2, going down this backstretch, and it would just be a nice little scrap, but into turn 3, we would be able to clear Bryce and now take over P5 and re-enter a stage points paying position now, as it was still Andrew and Eddie up front battling with Durham as well as for that front position, as I would run down Matt and get to the inside of him into turn 3, and clearly, just like I said, we have some solid speed here today, which is a nice change to have. So we come through side by side with Matt down this front stretch now with 27 laps to go in stage 2, and sure enough, into turn 1, we are going to be able to clear Matt O'Brien into the corner as I clip the apron just a little bit now, but we still get a solid exit. So we would now try to run down the front 3 of Durham, Edward, as well as Andrew, but it was actually slowly but surely kind of happening, but it was definitely a struggle now, as these guys, they felt pretty pretty even in terms of pace now as it came through. And I didn't unfortunately have any draft. The draft is still on a pretty low setting, but I sure enough would close in a little bit on the 4 of Durham, who had a bit of an issue now as it came through the lap 20 of 37 in this second stage. As the 14, he had actually come into the pit lane, so that's why you see him up there, but he was faster than everybody with fresher tires. So we come through now to lap 22, and we're a little bit closer to these front 2 drivers, or front 3 drivers I should say now, as Eddie loses a position to the 4 of Durham. And then we come through out of turn 4, both Andrew and Durham come into the pit lane for a green flag pit stop now, as myself and Eddie would decide to actually come in on the next lap, which would be lap 24 here of 37 in the second stage. So we come in now in a very easy call to make, of course, 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires. There would be some drivers that decided to do a 2-tire pit stop. Drivers like the 42 of Cameron as well as the 48 of Tyler might have done 2 tires. I can't remember if he did or not. I know the 18 of Bryce did, as well as our other teammate of the 19 of Jonathan also did 2 tires. Now as we would get back on to the track, and we're down here in P9 at the moment, but of course everything still has to cycle a little bit, but we're probably going to lose about 3 or 4 positions due to the drivers that took 2 tires. But immediately we run down the 42 of Cameron, we pass him, then the 18 of Bryce, he dropped down now to P6 as we came through to lap 29, and we were running him down extremely quick now as we came through out of turn 2, closing that gap right to the back of him. And we had a bit of a nice little just battle here as we go down the backstretch. I was going to try and go below him, he covered that off now as we went down into turn 3. Now as we were both kind of messing around in the party chat, so we kind of knew that was coming, but we come through out of turn 4, we take over P6 now from Bryce. So now, trying to run down the next group of cars, and Jonathan would be the next target, our teammate as well. Just like Bryce, as we passed earlier, he would be on the same 2-tire strategy as Bryce, so we were easily running him down as we came through on lap 33 out of turn 2. We would make a move to the inside of him, and he had absolutely nothing for us on that tire disadvantage, so we pass him and re-enter stage points positions. So the only car in front of us now that was on 2 tires was the 48 of Tyler, and sure enough, with 2 laps to go in the stage, we were closing that gap to him very quickly, as Andrew, he found himself out front leading the way. And I was kind of surprised by the speed in the 19 car of our teammate Jonathan. Based off that first stage, I thought he was going to be really quick, but he surprisingly was struggling a bit now as we came through in a side-by-side battle with the 48 of Tyler on the exit of turn 2 on this final lap in stage 2 now as we go down this backstretch. He obviously defended that bottom really well, but I was kind of confident we could make the top work with the 4-tire advantage through turns 3 and 4, and sure enough, it is going to allow us to get ahead of him on the exit of turn 4 now, as Andrew Wisdom comes through to win stage 2 after a runner-up finish in stage 1, and we barely hold on to P4 once again here, just like we did in stage 1. We got P4 in both stages here tonight now, as we will get ready to go for this 3rd and final stage. But definitely, I think the common consensus right now is Andrew, Eddie, myself, and Durham are probably the fastest cars here, as we would actually lose a spot though to Tyler on the pit stop. So we start the 3rd and final stage here in P5 as we get back underway. Tyler immediately drops down. I could have just taken it up his inside right here, and I actually thought about it, but I just didn't think that would be a very wise thing to do at the start of the 3rd and final stage, so I just kind of tucked in behind him and got rolling here for this final stage now, as it was now the 4 of Durham out front as we came through out of turn 2. The 24 there of Connor, he attacks to the inside now as we go down the backstretch, and that just kind of proves how perfect at times you got to be on these restarts, especially as we go down into turn 3. We get slammed by the 24, as I believe he had actually gotten hit from the 19 into me, as if I remember correctly, it was obviously not what he had meant to do. So we both get back going though. We drop down to P14 now as we're right behind the 41 of Christian as we go into turn 1 at the inside of the 34. But that was a little bit frustrating, I think, for both of us, because look at the time that myself and Connor lost because of that contact. Now, as like I said, I'm pretty sure he got hit in the left rear by the 19, which pushed him up into me. Now as we go down into turn 3, we're going to be able to get up the inside of the 10 of Blake, right behind his teammate of Christian there in that 41. Now as Christian was struggling a little bit as well here, he qualified really good for this race, but he was, like I said, struggling in terms of pace now with 50 laps to go. So I was doing my best to kind of get around him, but if these guys, when they're slower, if they can just cover that bottom, they can really hang on. Now he's actually going to drive into the side of the 24, and that ends up putting Christian's teammate, the 14, into the wall and around. That would be a crash. No caution, as it was a one-car incident, but we would get up the inside of Christian now. Just a little bit too aggressive from him, and unfortunately he just drove into the side of the 24, but we would pass him now for the 9th position as we come through on lap 88, trying to run down now the 42 of Cameron, who hits the outside wall on the exit of turn 2. So that allows me to close the gap right up to him and look to the inside into turn 3, and now we are going to take over P8 into the corner as Andrew, he had kind of driven away now from his teammate of Eddie there in second place, but we came through now on lap 90, and there was a bit of a run in between Bryce and the 4 of Durham, and sure enough, into turn 3, you see Bryce intentionally puts the 4 and himself into the wall as we came through out of turn 4. I was all for it because it just gained me 2 free positions, and now we move up into P6, but apparently they had gotten together a lap or 2 before that happened, and that's why Bryce did what he did, and we came through now on the inside of the 48 of Tyler into turn 3 as he had clipped the outside wall on the exit of turn 2, so now up into the top 5 on lap 94, and we come through on lap 99, still running P5 right here behind our teammate of Matt O'Brien, and I was actually in the party chat telling him you should make a move on the 19. You ran him down, you had the speed to do it, but he was just kind of riding here as he came through out of turn 4, and unfortunately he wasn't quite making a move, so now I was looking for an opportunity to get past Matt here as he came through into turn 1 on lap 100. He kind of has a bit of a tight entry there, so I now attack up the inside on the entrance of 1, and now on the exit of 2, we're actually going to be able to get clear of Matt O'Brien down the back straightaway and hold on to now P4 as we go down into turn 3. So continuing to just kind of move our way forwards now as Andrew and Eddie, they were still out front. You see Andrew going a little bit defensive there into turn 3 now as Eddie's just trying to follow him everywhere to get a bit of that draft now as he came through the center of 3 and 4 on that 101. Now pit stop starting to get close now if we stay green here in this race. Right behind us, though, we had Matt as he would actually get up my inside going down towards turns 1. I could have been way more defensive on him, and unfortunately I wasn't, and I really should have been, so he could not do that move. But now myself and Eddie on the top here as we come through out of turn 2, as Andrew loves to see these battles behind because it allows him to open up that gap a little bit now between himself and the 19. So unfortunately we drop back down into P5 as we came through to now lap 103, 32 laps to go. But this battle with Matt, or aka Karma, it would continue as we came through on lap 105, now up again the inside of him, and then sure enough we would pass him with 29 laps to go. But then Jonathan now on lap 106, he would get up the inside of Andrew for the lead, and then Eddie had a big moment on the exit of turn 2. He would go crashing on the exit of the corner after, I think, an overcorrection, after hitting the apron or something, kind of like what I had earlier in that first stage. So now he is really out of the picture unless a caution comes out, in what has been a very, very green race so far. So we came through now on that 110, and Matt gets back up my inside as we came through out of turn 2. So I'm right behind Andrew. I decided to stick with Andrew and try and push him as we go down this back straightaway on that 110 now as we are closing in on the final handful, or I guess I should say final 20 laps in this race. Now is once again up the inside of the 20 of Matt as he was kind of getting together there with Andrew as we've been just having a back and forth battle now as we came through though on the exit of turn 4. All of us top 4 drivers come into the pit lane on lap 112, and Andrew has been really good with the pitting, and once again he shows it there as you can see the gap he just opened up between himself and I there on the entrances. Definitely the pit lane, definitely my weakness in pretty much any racing game at all, it feels now. But we would exit here just where we came in P4, right behind that 20 of Matt now as we came through back towards getting on the track. So Andrew is now in front of that 19 of Jonathan, and then we came through now actually getting to the inside of the 48 of Tyler, who had pitted earlier. He had taken 4 tires, but obviously it was showing that he was on a bit of a disadvantage, and he had actually only pitted about a lap or 2 ahead of us, or before us. So we came through now to the inside of Matt on that 122, but you see up ahead of us, it was now the 9 and the 19 who had driven away from everybody now as it came through out of turn 4. So we cleared Karma, and now we're just kind of chilling here in P3 on that 124. But we would actually, down the back straightaway, have an incident behind us, and that would end up bringing out a caution here in Chicago on that 124, coming to 10 laps to go. So this would actually bring everybody into the pit lane. We came into the pit lane, P3, everybody did the same thing. Fortunately, 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 tires. And we came out P2, giving us the second spot for the choose cone. So I decided to go to the bottom just like Andrew here, and we get ready for what will be the final restart of the day. And you can see it was not a pretty restart now, as Matt is actually in second, able to get down in front of me as I just completely screwed it up now as we go down towards turns 1. I was hoping to actually get a lunge on Andrew going down towards turns 1, so I tried to back it up a bit, and I completely, like I said, messed it up. So here as we come through now out of turn 2, trying to make sure we stay in front of that 19 now as we go down this back straightaway. I go a little bit defensive there there to make sure he could not make a move. And into turn 3 now, Eddie is able to get clear. So we drop down into the 4th position, coming to lap 129 of 134. And immediately Eddie looks to the inside of Matt. I follow Eddie, seeing the best opportunity to be down here on the bottom and move up into P3. So sure enough, with 6 laps to go, we take over the 3rd position into the corner now as the 9 of Andrew trying to hang on for dear life. We had all kind of loosened up our cars, and Eddie would get to the back of the 9, make a move up the inside into turn 3, and Andrew shuts the door on his teammate and completely messes him over. So I come through up the inside now on the exit of turn 4. I say, you know what, we got to put the attack on and try and pass our teammate of Eddie, and then maybe take a chance to go past Andrew if we have the speed. So we come through heading down towards turns 1 with 3 laps to go here in Chicago, and we clear Eddie on the entrance of the corner, but he's going to have a way better exit than I am. He's going to try the crossover, and unfortunately he is going to make it happen here as he gets up my inside. I really should have just blocked him here, because now it's going to really cost both of us and let Andrew drive away at this point now as we go into turn 3. But Eddie is able to clear me now for the 2nd position as we exit turn 4, and I decided to just kind of chill behind him here because I still wanted a chance for both of us to run Andrew down. So we come through to the final lap here in Chicago, and sure enough, Eddie had run down the 9 of Andrew, and he was pretty heated at this moment with Andrew, so I was actually expecting maybe something to go down here, even though they are teammates as we exit turn 2. On this final lap now, Andrew tries to break the draft. Eddie doesn't even attempt to follow him as we go down into turn 3, and Eddie is going to send it in pretty deep into the corner, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough as we come through out of turn 4, and we are going to come through, though, at the end of a solid day in Chicago to finish in P3 as Andrew Wisdom picks up the victory. Win number 4 on the season there for Andrew now as we pick up a nice top 5, which, like I said, that was really nice to get now, especially after last time out at Kentucky when we finished 10th and we just kind of struggled all night long. But I did not do any interviews in this race because I was actually pretty tired at the end of it, so I didn't bother. But congratulations, of course, to Andrew. A bit of a run-in with his teammate there of Eddie, so there was, like I said, a bit of heat, I guess you could say, now between them. But either way, overall, a really good race. It was unfortunate that we had that caution at the end. I was hoping it would stay green, but at the same time, it did give us a chance. Now, so I'm going to show you guys before we end this episode the point standings on your screen. Now, as you see, Andrew now has 4 wins on the season, 3 in a row. He had only won 1 of the first 11 races, and now he's won the last 3. Now, as Jonathan, he is 2nd in the points. We move up into P9 as we have, like I said, we haven't had the greatest season. We've missed some races. We've had some bad luck, but we do have 3 wins, and we are locked in the playoffs. So that at least puts us in a good position. But just before we end this episode, I would like to say thank you to the Going Racing members of MJ, Aiden, Eric, Dylan, Joseph9001, as well as my good friend RJ. So I really do appreciate you guys joining. It helps me a lot every month. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you do know what to do. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.